Over the past 30 years, China's real estate market grew alongside the country's economic rise. For millions of families, buying properties became the fastest path to wealth. Many ordinary people saw their lives transformed simply because they owned a home. But after the pandemic, things began to change. The collapse of Evergrande marked the beginning of a major downturn. As someone born and raised in China, I want to document what this moment looks like through my own eyes. The day before yesterday, I went to Greenland. I just explored some of the abandoned villas, which was really interesting. I want to check out the price. I want to do a comparison because before you would hear like relatives or friends, they bought those apartments. I have like 2 or 3 relatives, not very close one, but the relatives that you always hear, my parents and Villa's parents, they are talking about their brothers and siblings, right? They bought some apartments, usually apartment, not the villa house. Those villas were way expensive than now. It was around 4 million, sometimes 5 million that you can afford one. But because in the Shanghai city center, if you spend 4 million, 5 million, you wouldn't able to even buy half of the villa, because the villa in the city center, downtown area, 30 million, 40 million, even 100 million. 100 million would be some luxury house, not very big, but in a very important region in the French Concession. This is the former French Concession. Even today, it's one of the most fashionable and modern parts of Shanghai. It's also probably the part of China that feels most familiar to Western visitors. For many foreign tourists, this is where their journey in China begins. They walk through these beautiful streets, seeing cafes, the tree-lined avenues, the historical buildings, and often leave thinking, wow, China is so modern, China is so advanced. But the truth is, they only touched a tip of this massive country. By the way, now I'm in a very rich region, a very rich area. The properties here are still very expensive. If you don't have 10 million or even 20 million RMB, you wouldn't be able to afford any of these high-rising apartment buildings behind me, such as this one. This is maybe very expensive. That's why I went to those 2 famous projects, those 烂尾楼, those abandoned houses, abandoned apartments, abandoned villas. Because I found it interesting, because not only me, right, the other Chinese social medias, Chinese Douyiners, TikTokers, they always go to these abandoned buildings to show people. If you go back to 2019, or not in 19, but 2016, 2018, the properties are still expensive. Those real estate developers, they sell a story, because they call these regions the backyard of Shanghai, because Shanghai, the real estate price in Shanghai was booming and it was super high. Now it's dropped a little bit, like 30% or so, even in the very city center. When people talk about the center of Shanghai, there's no single answer, but living near the Bund, right in the heart of the city, is something only a tiny group of extreme wealthy people can afford. Most Chinese people will never live here. Some may never even visit. And yet, these are exactly the images that show up again and again on YouTube, Instagram, and other social medias whenever China is mentioned. Usually close to Huaihai Road, not close to Nanjing Road, because Nanjing Road isn't a quiet place. The celebrities, they own villas in that region. I don't always film over there because I found it's tasteless. It's just like semi-French architecture, The settlers back then in the 20th century came to Shanghai, set up their region, built their house. Now those like semi-European style houses are very expensive, still very expensive. The price is a little bit down, 10% or something. They still can set up a high price, but nobody would spend money to buy it, because everyone's expectation is the real estate would be dropped down lower and lower. What's interesting is that when people talk about real estate, prices in millions sound almost normal, but the average person in Shanghai earns only around 6,000 or 7,000 yuan a month. So for them, having soup dumplings in Yu Garden is easy. Buying an apartment nearby, that's a completely different story. The Evergrande region that I went to in Qidong, a 90 square meter apartment building would only cost you like 200k RMB. I wasn't able to film in those real estate brokers because they don't allow you to film their price. But I was asking like 200k, even 150k, they will find a seller for you. But second hand, comparing to the highest price that it was once, maybe it was like around 1 million. Now it's just 150k. This is the situation, and this is why I was there, because I went there, as I said in the video, I went there 2 years ago. So now the situation is even worse. They are in far remote, even they are close to the sea. They have a man-made green blue sea or something, because they fence the area and they wash the water and to make it look like a blue, right? Here, close to Shanghai, the sea is called the Yellow Sea. It's very gray, very yellow. So it's not even close to beautiful. The beautiful sea must be down to the southern part of China, around the Hainan Island or something like that. Every year, I return from Scandinavia to spend a few months in Shanghai. I visit my parents, enjoy the food, and catch up with old friends. Lately, one topic keeps coming up in almost every conversation: the housing market. Property prices are falling, and many people are worried about what comes next. This is a recap and just a topic that I want to bring up. By the way, the villa is also very cheap. Probably would cost you like 800k approximately. Even in that such a low price, nobody wanna invest money over there. If you are a worker, you are an employer that's working in the downtown area in Shanghai, you wouldn't be able to go there frequently. If you are an employee, you have to always go to the company. Here in China, the situation is a little bit different. In Sweden, we do like we work from home, right? We do remote work. Every like 2 days in a week, we stay at home and work from home, and you just submit your virtual homework. Basically, you produce your stuff and you send email, you push your code or whatever, right? I haven't worked in China for many years. Before leaving, I worked for Chinese, American, European, and Japanese companies. No matter where I worked, one thing was always the same: the long hours and the exhaustion. That constant feeling of burnout was one of the reasons I eventually left. In the Chinese companies, you are always forced to go to the company because they need someone to look at you sitting in front of the desk and you are doing your stuff. It's not like, okay, today I don't want to go and I can stay at home and I just have some outcomes, produce documents and produce code, do some calculation, make an Excel. They need to literally physically see you sitting in front of desk. The company doesn't really trust their employee here in China. Well, this is another topic about the working culture in China. Well, maybe it will be interesting that I can just to show you around this rich region, because I don't just want to show you the poor region. No, I don't really show poor region, but undeveloped places. So maybe I'll just bring the camera and we just walk around, okay? All right, so set up the camera and we can just have a glance of this place. This is the intersection of this living neighborhood. All the apartment buildings are high-rising and in good quality. I mean, from my naked eye, I would see, okay, these are very high quality buildings rather than, those low quality buildings around Shanghai. This is a relative like rich region, the, city village that we always cross. I'm gonna just explore this region a little bit and to see how how this, because this is a very quiet place. It's not like hustle and bustle, right? You see shops, but you don't see those like cheap restaurants. You have these like half naked Chinese uncles sitting outside, eating barbecue or something. Maybe it's a little bit boring because it's not like you have a lot of weird thing to see. Well, so probably maybe it's good to just get into one of the local community to take a look.